Pudge Rodriguez was one of the best catchers of his generation, if not the best defensive catcher of his generation. Unfortunately, because of steroid allegations, Ivan Rodriguez's career story has certainly been tainted in some ways. While it was never actually proven that he took steroids, it seems that there was plenty of evidence that he did, despite his denial. Of course, that didn't stop him from reaching the Hall of Fame quite a number of years ago now. But since then, his cards have never really taken off. And part of this is because of overproduction, but another part of it is I think that the hobby never really truly embraced him after the PED allegations. Once one of the most popular players in baseball, certainly one of the most exciting hitters in baseball for a long time, one of the best defensive catchers of all time. And so recently, there has certainly been plenty of movement on a lot of these so-called junk wax era cards, especially the PSA 10s of Hall of Famers. And Ivan Rodriguez is finally getting caught up in that wave. So on the pit yesterday, we actually had a number of these cards in PSA 10 sell. And as if you look at the prices, these cards were actually selling for, listed for $15 or so. So they weren't even selling for over $15 even just a few days ago. So pretty incredible. A PSA 10. To get a PSA 10 and being able to sell it for under $20 is pretty unusual. Typically, a PSA 10 will sell north of that, especially if it's a rookie card of a Hall of Famer. So whenever you see a Hall of Fame rookie card under $20, there's usually some reason for that. And of course, this is in the case of Ivan Rodriguez. Steroids have certainly been a factor in that. So the ones that were sold yesterday specifically were the Donruss rookies, the Fleer update, the Score rookie traded, and the Upper Deck final edition. He does have other rookie cards in Bowman as well, but these are the ones that were, certainly underpriced relative to their value in the market. And if we take a look at the Donruss rookies, see there is one listed for $20, and there's actually only two additional holdings at the pit. So this is a card that for a long time you could get this card for as low as $10 in PSA 10 already graded, which is pretty staggering when you think about it. And even the sale just a couple days ago was $12. So this is a card that has gone from $12 to $20, and while that might not sound like a huge jump, relatively speaking, it is a huge jump. That is an enormous jump, and nearly doubling in price. So we'll take a look real quick at the population report for this card. So 91 Donruss rookies actually did have a few cards in it that were valuable, and one of those cards was Jeff Bagwell. He has about 825 PSA 10s out of 4,193 total submissions. Ivan Rodriguez actually has more submissions with 4,800 and 949 10. So this card is not the most populous. Like, there are quite a few of these out there, but the PSA 10s are very much rarer than a PSA 9. So this card should probably be worth a lot more than $20. So certainly this is a card that has room to grow, I would certainly say. Especially when you consider, there's also Bagwell in the set as well. So yeah, and we'll take a look at a couple of these other ones. So next we'll take a look at the 91 Fleer update. So this is a set that, just like with the Donruss rookies, he shares with Jeff Bagwell as far as Hall of Famers. And this is a card that sold for just $14 recently. Now this one, the pit actually has a few more of. Actually, it has 11 holdings, in addition to one for sale for $20. So this card, you would be led to believe that maybe is actually a bit more common. That's actually not the case. This card is actually rarer than the Donruss rookie. As you take a look here, there's only 1,967 total submissions with only 422 10s. So this card actually is significantly rarer. It's actually twice as rare as the Donruss rookies. Now, of course, the Fleer update, it does have that yellow border. It's really not a very attractive card. It's actually significantly less attractive than the Donruss rookies card. So there's nothing really wrong with the picture, but just the border, all the lines, it's just not a very attractive card in my opinion. But it is actually significantly rarer than the Donruss rookie. The Donruss rookie is the more popular of the two, certainly, of these two. But but this card is actually rarer. So if you happen to find this card, right now still for under $20, yeah, this is a pretty good card to pick up simply because it is so much rarer than the Donruss. Okay, next we'll take a look at the Score Rookie Traded PSA 10. So this card is a lot more attractive than the Fleer update, certainly, and you could argue that it's even more attractive than the Donruss Rookies card. So 91 Score, not really, I mean, it's not really a very loaded set, but the Rookie Traded subset that was released after the main set. This card is actually more popular than the other two, significantly so, and that's actually understandable. Not only is it a better looking card, it certainly has a little bit more action to it than certainly the Fleer, where he's kind of just standing there, about to toss the ball back to the pitcher. Whereas, in the Donruss rookies, he's actually hitting, which is probably better. Of course, it looks like he's hitting in spring training, whereas there's certainly a lot more going on here where he's actually chasing after a pop-up. So the photo, the composition of this card is certainly better than the other two. And also, as from just a population standpoint, there are quite a few of these graded, 3,354, but there's only 527 10. So this card is pretty rare. Especially population percentage wise of number of PSA 10s to total population. So this card is actually very rare in a PSA 10. So it certainly should be worth more than $20, and certainly worth much more than the $15 that this card sold for. So yeah, there's 6 more holdings as well. So this card, pretty good. I mean, I would say so far this is probably the best investment of the 3 I've looked at so far. The last of these Pudge Rodriguez rookies we'll be taking a look at today is the 91 Upper Deck Final Edition in PSA 10. So this set he actually shares with a couple of future Hall of Famers, namely Pedro Martinez and Jim Thome. The Ken Griffey Jr. card from the set is also quite popular, and it's got a good picture. It's got a pretty good composition to it. The only thing I've never really liked about the Upper Deck Final Edition is how small the name is compared to the rest of the card. I've always kind of found that, I don't know, I've never really liked how small the names are on them. But that's just my opinion. But as far as certainly population-wise, you would think, oh, this is going to actually be the most popular. It's certainly the most popular, but you might be surprised to find out that it's actually not as common as you might think, which is interesting. 91 Upper Deck Final Edition, they printed so many of these sets. You can still find sealed sets of this today for, I think, $10 or less. But what's interesting is you take a look at the Upper Deck Final Edition PSA population. So just for comparison, you can see Pedro Martinez has 22,000, over 22,000 graded submissions to PSA and 3,500 PSA 10s. Jim Thome has about 5,000 with 2,273 10s, so that card actually has graded quite well over the years, interestingly enough. And we go to Ivan Rodriguez. Ivan Rodriguez has 9,600 with only 2,680 10s. So it's easier to grade than the others, certainly, when you consider the percentages, but so it's pretty popular, but again, it is the most popular of these 4. I would actually argue personally that I actually personally prefer the Score Traded just from a composition standpoint. But of course, the final edition of Ivan Rodriguez is a very good card. So as you can see, quite a few of these listed at ThePit. One listed for $19 and 7 more listed for $19.95, and there are 84 additional holdings. So this is sort of the cards to acquire of the 4 that we're looking at today. Of course, there are others we can look at in the future. and we don't want this to be a half-hour video. So yeah, so this is the most popular, and it is the most populous. So personally, my personal feeling is that these cards are just so common in PSA 10 that I think that it probably has, the least amount of ceiling, whereas the other three cards certainly have a little bit more potential for growth. Donruss Rookies nowhere is printed as Upper Deck. Fleer Update certainly not printed nearly as much as Upper Deck, and the Score Trade is certainly not printed as much as the Upper Deck Final Edition. So if I had to pick one of these, the interesting thing about this exercise is, let's just say that all these cards are $20, like they are at the pit right now, and they're about the same price on eBay as well. So if you were to choose one, which would you choose personally? When you have four cards and they're all $20, they're all the same player. Um, you know, just judging by the population reports and just how the card looks, in my personal opinion, the Fleer Update is probably the rarest of all four of them. But if I had to pick one, I would actually pick the Score Traded. The reason for that is I like the picture. I just like the composition of the card better than than the others. And personally, I think that the Score Rookie Traded, this is where I would be putting my money if I were to be buying these Score Traded. And that's just my personal opinion. I think from a financial perspective, they're all good buys. I think they're all good buys, personally. I just don't think that the Upper Deck Final Edition has the same ceiling, long-term ceiling as the other three. And even though I really don't like the look of the Fleer Update, I certainly think that card has room to grow as well. So let us know what you guys think. Which of these four is your favorite? Is there another Ivan Rodriguez card that you would prefer to this card? I mean, certainly we'll be looking at some of his other cards in the future. So yeah, let us know what your favorite of these four is, or if there's another card that we didn't mention here today that you prefer more. So take care, everybody, and happy collecting.